As you're all quite aware, I've been pretty vocal about my dislike for this show so far. But imagine my surprise when that turned around.
That was pretty good!
So, after Raven blew up the convent at the end of the last episode, she runs off into the forest, where she meets Garfield Logan, who she'd previously met for like 30 seconds in the last episode, but now he's actually establishing himself as a character in the show. He takes her to his place, where he lives with the Doom Patrol, which so far consists of Negative Man, Robot Man, the Chief, and Elastigirl. Yes, that's it, for now. They all live together because, they consider themselves to be freaks, and that's about where the only place they can live without being judged for what they are. Raven spends some time with the Doom Patrol, but ultimately clashes with the Chief, who wants to cure her of her abilities, which he seems to consider more an ailment, even after she's decided she no longer wants to do that. Also, throughout this episode, we can see Raven coming to terms with whatever it is that is inside of her dark side. So that's good to see. Meanwhile, Dick and Starfire are searching for Raven. Eventually, they find her, and they all go off happy, but then Garfield joins them at the last minute. So, with that very vague synopsis out of the way, what did I think? Well, as I said in the intro, I have obviously made my dislike for this show quite vocal in this past few episodes.
No shit!
So I was genuinely surprised when I finished the episode and found that I didn't hate it, or at least didn't have any real problems with it. So yeah, let's get the stuff I didn't like out of the way first, because for once that's the shorter list. And they were all just little details as well, that's the thing. Now, the first thing I have to mention is, yes, this episode is pretty edgy in places. But it was fine this time. Like, it wasn't hit you over the head with the edge. But yeah, no, only a couple of moments actually really stuck out and made me think, wow, that's edge-tastic. On the topic of the Doom Patrol, the press release for the TV show they're going to have says that Timothy Dalton would have been playing the Chief. And I like Timothy Dalton. He was a great James Bond. He was imposing as Rassilon in Doctor Who.
Nonsense. I'm sure if we bashed your head in, all sorts of secrets would come tumbling out.
But he's nowhere to be seen this episode, and the Chief is being played by someone whose name I cannot remember. And I don't know, I felt a little bit disappointed by that. I mean, I'll probably get to see Dalton as the Chief if I do decide to watch Doom Patrol, which I think I will watch. But yeah, no, that was just sort of, bummer kind of moment. The ending where Beast Boy decided to go with the rest of the Titans, it felt a little forced. Like, sure, they'd been building up to him choosing to leave already, and that progression made sense, but then the sudden choice on the other people's part to let him go, that seemed a little bit forced. But, you know, it got us to where we needed to be. And I am annoyed that it was forced, but we can't have everything, can we? So, let's talk about the good stuff. We'll start with Beast Boy himself. Now that we've actually gotten to spend some time with this character, unlike a couple of episodes which have shown him and then just tossed him to the side, now we actually get some good reasons as to who he is and why he is the person he is. That didn't make any sense. I like the fact that they've characterized him as a bit of a geek. Nerd! So yeah, I really like the characterization of Beast Boy. He's funny, he's lighthearted, but you can still tell that what he went through back in Africa when he got the disease that he did, and the results of his change and how that's affected him as a person. You can still see that, but he's still a goofball to some extent. So I think in terms of the way they've adapted him from the comics, he's now the closest they've gotten on any of the characters. I love the rapport he has with Raven. I can see they're definitely angling for something between Beast Boy and Raven, even more so in the last episode, and I am here for that. I am definitely here for that. Because as we established last review, I ship those two characters, and at this point I'm not even sorry. Like, fight me. Using Beast Boy and Raven's relationship as a segue, Raven is also a lot better of a character in this episode now, because now she seems to beginning to accept the fact that this demon side of her is a part of her, and she's beginning to be able to use that without going full Dark Raven in a controlled manner. Like when the hunters shoot the deer, she's I don't know if she's aware that she's healing it yet, but she's certainly aware that she's soothing its pain. And she later uses this to help Elastigirl when she starts losing control over her form. And then when the chief brings in another patient, she soothes the patient's pain as well. Now fully aware that this is a thing she can do, and a thing she's willing to, well, do. So, awesome character progression with Raven in this episode. By the end of it, she's a much better character than the character we've been having the past few episodes. Also, just generally, as I said, her rapport with Beast Boy, great stuff. I really like the Raven character now, even if she's still nothing like the Raven character from anything else I've ever seen. At this stage, we're not going to get that character ever, so I don't want to use the term I just better get used to it, because that seems a little bit harsh comparing to what I'm actually thinking. But the character we've got now by the end of this episode for Raven is a good character. I like her. She's fun. Also, Beast Boy and Raven are kind of adorable still.
I'll fight you on that one.
So, the Doom Patrol. If we ever see them again, that'll be a pleasant surprise. It seems like that this is the last time we'll see them, to me. But yeah, I'd be happy to see them again, and as I said earlier, I'm definitely going to watch the show now. Brendan Fraser, he kills it as Robot Man. From what I can tell of the character of Robot Man in this episode, he's supposed to be done with everything, which is a constant mood, really. Yeah, no, his character's a lot of fun. Like, the sarcasm with which he deals with Beast Boy, it makes sense, and it's kind of funny, the back and forth that Beast Boy and Robot Man have, so great character there, great work from Brendan Fraser in bringing that to life. He must have been jumping for joy when he was told he'd have work again. Yeah, when did Brendan Fraser go after the 90s anyway? Negative Man, well, we never really get to see much of a display of his abilities, but that just doesn't mean anything, because Negative Man is also a great character. His character's a delight. He's just he's a happy guy, and I like that. And the guy providing the voice for Negative Man is Matt Bomer, who I only previously knew from, what was that show called? White Collar. It was a fun show. Matt Bomer should have been Superman. Anyway, I feel like of the characters in the Doom Patrol, the one that got the least developed, like in terms of who she is Rita. That being said, I did like a character, the backstory of why she's a recluse and how she's unable to control her abilities. That's important stuff to build on, and the whole thing of the fact that she's living with the Doom Patrol because anywhere else she'd go, she'd be locked up and experimented on like she was previously. Very good backstory, very good explanation for who she is as a character. By the way, am I the only one who's amused by the fact that there's a DC hero called Elastigirl, which was written before The Incredibles? Of course, but now they've got to share a name with an Incredibles character. I mean, it's probably not the worst thing in the world, but one of them is definitely more recognizable. Anyway, I'm not a big fan of the Chief, it does have to be said. But I feel like that's the point of his character, that we're not really supposed to like him that much. Because, and this seems to be a trend in this series, they've got characters who ultimately want to do the right thing, but are flawed in the ways that they're doing them. Like the nuns from the last episode, ultimately they're trying to do the right thing, but they're just doing it the wrong way. It's the same with the Chief. Like, he wants to help people, but ultimately he doesn't realize that there's a line where he should stop, as proved with Raven, when Raven says she no longer wants to go through with it, and the Chief does it anyway. Also, the guy playing him seemed comparatively a weak actor compared to Timothy Dalton. I want to watch the show so I can see Dalton in the role because he's a good actor.
May their heads be struck from their shoulders for such disloyalty.
Did I mention Starfire already? There wasn't a lot of development with Starfire in this episode, aside from the fact that she actually stood up and told Dick, you have some issues, figure them out. I mean, people have pointed out that he's got issues before, but this is the first time I think that someone's actually said it to him, find out what your problem is, deal with it. Dick in this character finally did something, Dick in this episode I should say, finally did something right for a change. I mean, sure, he started out being the Dick that we've come to know the past few episodes, where he beats the crap out of someone and only stops when he realizes he's beating the crap out of him in front of his 7-year-old son. Now, overall, I thought that was a very good scene, because finally Dick's actually going to have a look at the consequences of behaving the way he does. So, very important scene, very well done. From there, we actually get some reasons as to why Dick was constantly behaving like this. And, for example, telling Raven that she's all alone. That's all she's got, instead of apologizing for the way he behaved to her. And the explanation of how he's basically got a huge case of, I'm just going to call it Batman syndrome now, because he's all like, oh, I have to be alone. I lost the light. I call it Batman syndrome because Batman often insists that he works alone, but then he can't, really. If you read the comics and stuff, he's not very good at working alone, despite what he says. Dick appears to have the same problem, like he insists he can work alone, but he can't really. So, having him actually come to terms with that and apologize to Raven for being a dick 2 episodes ago, I think that was probably the most pivotal moment he had in terms of character development so far, so that was great to see. The scene, I will add, the scene where he does beat the crap out of this dude in front of his kid is probably about the darkest thing we get in this episode, I think. Like, when I first saw it, I'm like, oh crap, look at this edgy shit. But then once I finished the episode, it's like, but it was a necessary thing to do, because we can't just show Dick going, gee willikers, you're all right. You were all right this whole time. I'm a bad person. I need to fix that. No, he needs to actually see why he's a bad person. So that scene was very good for that. And I changed my tune on that about 5 minutes after I complained about it. So, good stuff this episode. I mean, I was pretty sure that this thing was going to continue down the trend of the last few episodes and just being darkness for dark's sake and edgy as hell, and we were never going to actually get some levity. I was wrong. My hopes and prayers that it would get better have been answered. This was a great episode. I liked it. It was a good episode. Anyway, obligatory speech about that like and that subscribe button, and I will get that Doctor Who video up at some point. At some point. Yeah, no, this past week was a bit busy because I had exams and stuff, so I wasn't able to actually do that. But maybe this week sometime, because I don't have much to do. Also, if you care at all, I'm participating in National Novel Writing Month, so that might take some time away from me, but not too much, I don't think. So anyway, I will see you all later.